Sarah Martinez never imagined her Tuesday morning jog through downtown San Diego would change her life forever. The 28-year-old elementary school teacher had been living in the coastal city for 3 years, drawn by the perfect weather and proximity to the ocean. She taught second grade at Lincoln Elementary, where her students adored her patient teaching style and infectious laugh. That morning started like any other. Sarah laced up her running shoes at 6:30 a.m., grabbed her water bottle, and headed out for her usual 5-mile route through Balboa Park. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting long shadows across the empty streets. She loved these quiet moments before the world woke up, when she could clear her mind and prepare for another day of shaping young minds. Sarah had always been small in stature, standing just 5 feet 2 inches tall and weighing barely 110 pounds. Throughout her life, people often underestimated her because of her petite frame. In college, classmates would offer to carry her books. Strangers at the grocery store would ask if she needed help reaching items on high shelves. Even her own family sometimes treated her like she was made of glass. But what most people didn't know about Sarah was that she carried a black belt in Taekwondo, earned after 8 years of dedicated training that began in high school. Her instructor, Master Kim, had been like a second father to her. He taught her that size meant nothing when technique, speed, and mental preparation came together. Sarah practiced religiously, attending classes 4 times a week even during her busiest college semesters. Her martial arts training wasn't just about physical technique. Master Kim emphasized the mental aspects of combat, situational awareness, reading body language, and staying calm under pressure. Sarah had internalized these lessons so completely that they became second nature. When she walked down a street, she automatically scanned for potential threats. She noticed who was around her, where the exits were, and how people moved and behaved. As she jogged through the park that morning, Sarah's trained eyes picked up on something unusual. 3 men were sitting on a bench near the running path, and something about their body language set off alarm bells in her mind. They weren't there to enjoy the morning air or feed the ducks. Their positioning was too deliberate, their attention too focused on the joggers passing by. The first man was tall and heavy-set, wearing a dirty baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. His clothes looked like he hadn't changed them in days. The second was younger, maybe in his early 20s, with nervous energy that showed in the way he kept bouncing his leg and checking his phone. The third man was the one that worried Sarah most. He was lean and muscular, with the predatory stillness of someone planning something bad. Sarah's pace didn't change, but her awareness sharpened. She made mental notes of everything around her: the time on her fitness watch, the number of other people in the immediate area, the locations of the nearest buildings with likely security cameras. Her breathing remained steady, but inside, every sense was on high alert. As she approached the bench, the 3 men stood up with the coordinated movement of people who had planned this moment. The younger one started walking toward her from the left, while the heavy-set man moved to block her path ahead. The lean one hung back slightly, probably to cut off any escape route behind her. Sarah's mind raced through her options. She could try to run, but they had positioned themselves to make that difficult. She could scream, but the park was mostly empty at this hour, and sound didn't carry well in the open space. Her phone was in her small running belt, but she wouldn't have time to call for help. The heavy-set man stepped directly into her path, forcing her to stop. "Hey there, little lady," he said with a smile that made Sarah's skin crawl. "You're out here all alone. That's not very safe." "I'm fine, thank you," Sarah replied politely, trying to step around him. But the younger man had closed in from the side, blocking that route. "We were just thinking," the lean man said, moving closer from behind. "A pretty girl like you shouldn't be running alone. We could keep you company." Sarah's training kicked in completely now. She could feel her heart rate settling into the zone Master Kim had taught her to find. Alert but not panicked, focused but not tunnel-visioned. Her muscles were loose and ready, her weight balanced on the balls of her feet. "That's very kind of you," she said calmly, "but I prefer to run alone." She was buying time, assessing exactly where each man was positioned and how they were likely to move. The heavy-set man laughed, but there was no humor in it. "See, that's where you're wrong, sweetheart. You don't get to choose anymore." He reached out to grab her arm, and that's when Sarah's years of training took over completely. The movement was so smooth and fast that the three men didn't realize what was happening until it was over. Sarah stepped inside his reach, grabbed his extended wrist with both hands, and used his own momentum to throw him over her hip in a perfect ippon sui nage. The man hit the ground hard, the impact knocking the wind out of him. The younger man lunged at her from the side, probably thinking her small size made her an easy target. Sarah pivoted on her left foot and drove her right knee up into his solar plexus with devastating accuracy. As he doubled over, gasping for air, she brought her elbow down on the back of his neck in a controlled strike that sent him to the ground. The lean man, who had seemed the most dangerous, was now backing away with his hands raised. "Whoa, whoa," he said, his predatory confidence completely gone. "We were just being friendly." Sarah maintained her fighting stance, her dark eyes locked on his. "Walk away," she said quietly. "All three of you. Walk away now, and don't come back." The heavy-set man was struggling to his feet, holding his ribs where he had hit the ground. The younger one was still on his knees, trying to catch his breath. They looked at their friend uncertainly, waiting for his decision. "This isn't over," the lean man said, trying to salvage some dignity. Sarah's expression didn't change. "Yes, it is." Something in her voice, in the way she stood perfectly balanced and ready, convinced him she was right. The three men gathered themselves up and walked away quickly, glancing back over their shoulders as they left the park. Sarah waited until they were completely out of sight before allowing herself to relax. Her hands were steady as she pulled out her phone to call the police. This wasn't her first time dealing with threatening situations. Her martial arts background had prepared her for moments like this. But something told her this encounter was different somehow, that would lead to consequences she couldn't yet imagine. As she waited for the police to arrive, Sarah resumed her jog at an easy pace, her mind already processing what had happened. She had defended herself successfully, just as Master Kim had taught her. She had used only the force necessary to neutralize the threat, without causing permanent harm to her attackers. She felt proud of how she had handled the situation, but also knew that her morning run had just become something much more complicated. What Sarah didn't know was that her encounter had been witnessed by someone who would change everything. Hidden among the trees about 50 yards away, a man had been conducting his own early morning workout. He had seen the entire confrontation unfold, from the three men's coordinated approach to Sarah's flawless defensive techniques. The witness was Commander Jake Razor Rodriguez, a 15-year veteran of the Navy SEALs who was home on leave after a deployment in the Middle East. He had been doing calisthenics in the secluded grove where he often came to work out when he needed to think. From his position, he had a clear view of the jogging path and had noticed the three suspicious men before Sarah even approached. Rodriguez had been reaching for his phone to call the situation, and when Sarah's lightning-fast response made it clear she didn't need rescuing. He watched in amazement as the tiny woman systematically dismantled three larger attackers with techniques so precise and efficient that he recognized them immediately as advanced martial arts. In his years with the SEALs, Rodriguez had trained with some of the best combat instructors in the world. He knew real skill when he saw it, and what he had just witnessed was the kind of technical excellence that couldn't be faked or learned overnight. This woman had serious training, serious discipline, and the kind of calm under pressure that the military spent years trying to instill in its elite operators. As Sarah finished her call with the police and resumed jogging, Rodriguez made a decision that would set in motion a series of events none of them could have predicted. He pulled out his phone and made a call of his own to a contact in Naval Special Warfare Command who was always looking for exceptional individuals with unique skill sets. "Sir, it's Rodriguez," he said when the call connected. "I need to tell you about someone I just saw. Someone I think the teams need to meet." 3 weeks after the incident in Balboa Park, Sarah Martinez was settling into her usual evening routine when her doorbell rang unexpectedly. She wasn't expecting anyone, and the serious-looking man in the dark suit standing on her doorstep definitely wasn't a neighbor dropping by to borrow sugar. "Miss Martinez? My name is Agent Thompson from Naval Criminal Investigative Service," the man said, showing her his credentials. "I wonder if we could have a few minutes of your time to discuss what happened in the park." Sarah's mind immediately went to the police report she had filed. The 3 men had been arrested later that same day, identified from park security camera footage. She assumed this was some kind of follow-up investigation. "Of course," she said, inviting him inside, though I already gave a complete statement to the San Diego police. Agent Thompson settled into her living room chair and opened a small notebook. "Miss Martinez, I'm actually here about something different. Your actions that morning were witnessed by someone who brought your situation to our attention. Someone who believes you might be interested in serving your country in a unique capacity." Sarah blinked in surprise. "I'm sorry, what? How familiar are you with the Navy's special warfare programs?" Thompson asked. "You mean like the SEALs? I know they exist, obviously, but not much beyond what everyone sees in movies." Sarah was genuinely puzzled about where this conversation was heading. Thompson smiled slightly. "The movies don't usually get it right. Miss Martinez, naval intelligence has been tracking a growing problem. We're facing threats that require operatives who can blend into civilian environments while possessing advanced combat skills. Traditional military personnel, no matter how well trained, often stand out in certain situations because of their bearing, their physical appearance, or their observable military background." Sarah was beginning to understand, but it seemed too incredible to believe. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying that a 28-year-old elementary school teacher with a black belt in Taekwondo who can neutralize 3 attackers in under 15 seconds is exactly the kind of person we need," Thompson said directly. "Someone who looks completely harmless but possesses exceptional combat abilities." Over the next hour, Thompson explained a program Sarah had never heard of. The Navy was recruiting civilians with specific skill sets for specialized intelligence and security operations. These weren't traditional military roles. They were positions that required people who could maintain their civilian identities while occasionally undertaking missions that required their unique abilities. "The work will be part-time," Thompson explained. "You would continue your teaching career, which provides perfect cover. Most assignments would involve surveillance, intelligence gathering, or providing security in situations where obvious military presence would be counterproductive. But some missions might require the kind of defensive skills you demonstrated in the park." Sarah felt like she was living in a spy movie. "This is real. This actually exists. Very real. The program has been operational for 8 years, though obviously it's not something we advertise. We have recruited former Olympic athletes, martial arts champions, and individuals with other specialized skills who can operate in the civilian world without drawing attention." Thompson pulled out a tablet and showed her several scenarios. "Imagine a situation where we need someone to attend a diplomatic reception to observe potential security threats. A Navy SEAL, no matter how skilled, will be noticed immediately by trained intelligence operatives. But an elementary school teacher who happens to be an expert in hand-to-hand combat, no one would suspect her capabilities." The offer was both thrilling and terrifying. Sarah had always felt like her martial arts skills were something of a hidden superpower, a part of herself that the world never got to see. Her students and fellow teachers had no idea she could do what she had done in the park. Even her family didn't fully understand the level of her training. "I need time to think about this," Sarah said finally. "Of course. But, Miss Martinez, I should mention that the person who recommended you specifically asked to be part of your evaluation process if you decide to move forward. He's quite eager to meet you." "Who is he?" "Commander Jake Rodriguez. 15-year SEAL veteran, multiple combat deployments, currently assigned to training new special operations personnel. He was conducting his own workout in the park that morning and witnessed everything. He's the one who called us." Sarah felt a mix of embarrassment and curiosity. Someone had been watching her fight? A real Navy SEAL had seen her in action and been impressed enough to recommend her for this mysterious program? Commander Rodriguez has volunteered to oversee your initial evaluation, should you choose to proceed. He believes your skills are remarkable, but more importantly, he was impressed by your composure under pressure and your ability to use precisely the right amount of force to neutralize threats without causing unnecessary harm. That evening, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the conversation. She had always loved her job teaching children, but lately she had been feeling restless, like she was meant for something more challenging. The idea that her martial arts skills could be used to serve her country was appealing in a way she hadn't expected. 2 days later, she called Agent Thompson and agreed to meet Commander Rodriguez. The meeting was arranged at a small coffee shop near the naval base. Sarah arrived early, nervous about meeting someone who had witnessed what she still thought of as one of the most intense moments of her life. She had no idea what to expect from a Navy SEAL, but when Commander Rodriguez walked in, she was surprised by how normal he seemed. Jake Rodriguez was about 40 with salt and pepper hair and laugh lines around his eyes. He was clearly in excellent physical condition, but he wasn't the intimidating giant she had imagined. When he approached her table, his smile was warm and genuine. "Miss Martinez, I'm Jake Rodriguez. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Please call me Sarah. And I should probably thank you for whatever recommendation you made." Rodriguez sat down across from her, and his expression became more serious. "Sarah, I've been training special operations personnel for over 10 years. I've worked with some of the most elite warriors in the world. What I saw you do in that park was exceptional, not just in terms of technique, but in terms of judgment and control." He explained how he had observed the entire encounter from his workout location. Those 3 men outweighed you by a combined total of probably 400 pounds. You neutralized them in seconds, using exactly the right amount of force. No permanent damage, no excessive violence, just precise defensive action that ended the threat immediately. Sarah felt herself blushing slightly. "I just did what I was trained to do." "That's exactly my point," Rodriguez said. "Real training shows under pressure. Anyone can perform techniques in a controlled environment. What you demonstrated was muscle memory so ingrained that you could execute complex movements while under stress, while assessing multiple threats, while maintaining perfect situational awareness." He leaned forward slightly. "Sarah, how would you feel about putting those skills to work in service of something bigger than yourself?" Over coffee and then lunch, Rodriguez painted a picture of the kind of work Sarah might be involved in. Much of it would involve what he called protective intelligence, attending events, observing situations, and being ready to act if threats materialized. Some assignments might require her to travel, always maintaining her cover as a civilian professional. "The beautiful thing about your background," Rodriguez explained, "is that no one expects an elementary school teacher to be a threat. You have what we call the perfect camouflage. You can go anywhere, attend any event, and blend completely into the background while maintaining the ability to respond to dangerous situations." Sarah found herself getting excited about the possibilities. "How would this work with my teaching job?" "You would continue teaching full-time. Most assignments would occur during school breaks, weekends, or summer vacation. The Navy would provide additional compensation, and your teaching career would actually be supported by the program. It's the perfect cover identity." By the end of their conversation, Sarah knew she wanted to try it. The idea of using her skills to protect people, to serve her country in this unique way, felt right in a way that surprised her. "If I say yes, what happens next?" Rodriguez smiled. "Next, you get to find out just how much you don't know about what you're capable of. We'll start with an evaluation period where you'll train with my team. You'll learn things they don't teach in civilian martial arts programs: advanced surveillance techniques, tactical assessment, weapons training, and combat skills that go far beyond what you already know." He paused, his expression becoming more serious. "But, Sarah, I want you to understand something. If you join this program, there will be times when your life depends on your skills and training. This isn't theoretical anymore. The threats you'll face will be real, and the people you'll be protecting will be counting on you to keep them safe. Sarah met his eyes steadily. "Commander Rodriguez, when those three men cornered me in the park, I didn't hesitate. I did what needed to be done. If you think I can help protect innocent people by using these skills, then I want to try." Rodriguez extended his hand across the table. "Welcome to the team, Sarah. And from now on, when you're working with us, you'll be addressed as ma'am. In our world, respect is earned through action, and you've already earned ours." As they shook hands, Sarah felt like her real life was finally beginning. Everything up to this point had been preparation for something she never could have imagined. Tomorrow she would still be Miss Martinez, the second-grade teacher who helped children learn to read and tie their shoes. But soon, she would also be something else entirely, a guardian operating in the shadows, protecting people who would never know her name. The duality of her new life was beginning, though Sarah had no idea yet just how extraordinary her journey would become. 8 months after shaking hands with Commander Rodriguez in that coffee shop, Sarah Martinez found herself in a situation that would have seemed impossible to her former self. She was standing in an elegant ballroom at the Beverly Hills Hotel, wearing a stunning black evening gown and diamond earrings, watching a room full of diplomats, business leaders, and celebrities mingle at a charity gala. To everyone around her, she was Dr. Sarah Collins, an education consultant attending the event as a guest of the Children's International Foundation. Her cover identity was flawless, complete with a detailed background that would withstand scrutiny. But underneath the glamorous exterior, Sarah was conducting one of the most important surveillance operations of her brief but remarkable career with naval intelligence. The months of training with Commander Rodriguez and his team had transformed Sarah in ways she never could have imagined. The petite elementary school teacher was still there, but she was now layered over a highly trained intelligence operative who could read a room like a book, spot potential threats from across a crowded space, and neutralize dangerous situations with lethal efficiency. Her training had been intense beyond anything she had experienced. Rodriguez and his team had pushed her physical skills far beyond what Master Kim had taught her in Taekwondo. She now knew pressure point attacks that could incapacitate an opponent in seconds, weapons techniques that turned everyday objects into deadly tools, and surveillance methods that made her invisible in plain sight. But more importantly, they had trained her mind. Sarah could now assess threat levels instinctively, read micro-expressions that reveal deception, and maintain multiple cover stories without ever breaking character. She had learned to think like an intelligence operative while still being authentic enough to fool trained professionals. Tonight's mission was her biggest test yet. Intelligence sources had identified this charity gala as a potential target for an international assassin known only as the Painter. The assassin had been linked to 3 high-profile killings over the past 2 years, always striking at public events where security was present, but not overwhelming. Tonight's target was believed to be Ambassador Elena Vasquez, a Colombian diplomat whose work in disrupting drug trafficking organizations had made her many dangerous enemies. The ambassador was attending the gala as the guest of honor, and intelligence indicated that the Painter had been contracted to eliminate her during the evening's festivities. Sarah's job was to blend into the crowd, identify any potential threats, and be ready to act if the situation turned violent. She was equipped with a small communication device disguised as an elegant brooch, allowing her to stay in constant contact with the tactical team positioned around the hotel. As she moved through the ballroom, Sarah's trained eyes cataloged everything. She noted the positions of security personnel, identified potential weapons among the elegant decorations, and tracked the movements of everyone who came within striking distance of Ambassador Vasquez. The ambassador was a striking woman in her 50s, with silver hair and the confident bearing of someone who had spent decades navigating dangerous political waters. She was currently speaking with a group of donors near the stage where the evening's entertainment was being set up. Sarah positioned herself at the bar, where she had a clear view of the ambassador while appearing to be just another guest enjoying the evening's champagne and conversation. Through her earpiece, she listened to updates from the tactical team. "Viper 1, this is Control. Target is mobile moving toward the terrace doors. Sarah glanced toward the French doors that led to the hotel's garden terrace. Ambassador Vasquez was indeed walking in that direction, accompanied by a man Sarah hadn't seen before. He was well-dressed and appeared to be in his 40s, with the kind of forgettable face that could blend into any crowd. Something about the man's movement pattern triggered Sarah's trained instincts. His positioning relative to the ambassador was too precise, too practiced. He was guiding her toward the terrace with subtle movements that wouldn't be obvious to casual observers, but were clearly deliberate to Sarah's trained eye. "Control, this is Shadow," Sarah said quietly, using her operational call sign. "Potential threat moving with primary toward terrace. Adult male, approximately 6 feet tall, dark hair, navy blue suit. I'm moving to intercept." Sarah began walking toward the terrace doors, her movements casual but purposeful. She grabbed a champagne flute from a passing waiter to maintain her cover as a socializing guest. As she approached the terrace, Sarah could hear the man speaking to Ambassador Vasquez in accented English. "The garden is particularly beautiful this time of year, Ambassador. Perhaps we could continue our conversation where it's quieter." The ambassador smiled politely, but Sarah could see the slight tension in her shoulders. Her diplomatic instincts were telling her something was off, even if she couldn't identify what it was. Sarah stepped onto the terrace just as the man was positioning himself between the ambassador and the door back into the ballroom. The movement was smooth and professional. He was cutting off her primary escape route, while appearing to be simply admiring the view. "Excuse me," Sarah said brightly, approaching the pair with her champagne glass. "Ambassador Vasquez? I'm Dr. Sarah Collins with the Children's International Foundation. I was hoping to speak with you about your work in educational reform." The man's eyes flicked to Sarah with annoyance, clearly frustrated by the interruption. But his response confirmed her suspicions. Instead of the polite acknowledgement of a disappointed socialite, his gaze assessed her as a potential threat. He was trained. "Perhaps later," the man said smoothly. "The ambassador and I were just discussing some private matters." But Ambassador Vasquez had picked up on the strange dynamics of the situation. Her political survival instincts were finely tuned, and she sensed that the attractive young woman who had interrupted them might be offering an escape from something she couldn't quite identify. "Actually, Dr. Collins, I would love to hear about your foundation's work," the ambassador said, stepping slightly away from the man and towards Sarah. The assassin, Sarah was now certain that's what he was, realized his window of opportunity was closing. His hand moved toward the inside of his jacket in a motion that Sarah recognized immediately as someone reaching for a concealed weapon. Sarah's response was instantaneous and devastating. She threw her champagne glass directly at the man's face, causing him to flinch and raise his hands defensively. In that split second while his vision was blocked, Sarah closed the distance between them and drove her elbow into his solar plexus with surgical precision. As the assassin doubled over, gasping for air, Sarah grabbed his wrist and twisted sharply, hearing the satisfying click of the concealed pistol falling from his numb fingers onto the terrace stones. Before he could recover, she swept his legs and drove him face first onto the ground, her knee pressed against the back of his neck in a submission hold that would keep him immobilized. The entire encounter had lasted less than 5 seconds. "Control, this is Shadow. Threat neutralized. I need immediate pickup on the terrace," Sarah said calmly into her communicator. Ambassador Vasquez stood frozen for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. The elegant young woman who had been discussing children's education was now restraining what was clearly a dangerous man with professional efficiency. "Dr. Collins?" the ambassador asked uncertainly. Sarah looked up at her with a reassuring smile. "Actually, Ambassador, I'm with Naval Intelligence. You were in immediate danger, but you're safe now." Within moments, the terrace was filled with tactical team members who took custody of the unconscious assassin. Commander Rodriguez appeared, speaking rapidly into his radio as he coordinated the scene. When he reached Sarah, his expression was one of professional pride mixed with genuine admiration. Outstanding work, ma'am. Textbook threat assessment and neutralization. Ambassador Vasquez overheard the exchange and looked at Sarah with new understanding. Mom, you're military. Rodriguez stepped forward. Ambassador Vasquez, allow me to introduce you properly. This is Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, Naval Intelligence. She's been assigned to your protection detail tonight. The ambassador extended her hand to Sarah with deep respect. Lieutenant Martinez, I believe I owe you my life. Sarah shook the ambassador's hand, still somewhat amazed at how far she had traveled from that morning jog in Balboa Park. Just doing my job, ma'am. As the tactical team finished securing the scene, Rodriguez pulled Sarah aside. Sarah, you've exceeded every expectation we had when we brought you into the program. Your instincts tonight were perfect. You identified the threat before anyone else, positioned yourself optimally, and neutralized the situation with minimal risk to the protectee. Sarah felt a deep satisfaction that went beyond personal pride. She had used her skills to save an innocent life, to protect someone who was working to make the world a better place. Everything she had trained for, all the hours of preparation and practice, had come together in those crucial seconds on the terrace. What happens now, she asked. Now you go back to your classroom on Monday morning and teach second grade, Rodriguez said with a smile. Miss Martinez, the elementary school teacher, will continue her normal life. But Lieutenant Martinez, Naval Intelligence Operative, will be ready whenever her country needs her. As Sarah changed out of her elegant gown and back into civilian clothes, she thought about the incredible duality of her life. Tomorrow she would be helping children learn to read, tying shoelaces, and mediating playground disputes. But tonight, she had prevented an international assassination using skills that her students and fellow teachers could never imagine she possessed. The three men who had attacked her in Balboa Park had seen her as an easy target because of her small size and gentle appearance. They had learned, too late, that appearances could be deceiving. Tonight, a professional assassin had made the same mistake, and Ambassador Vasquez was alive because of it. Walking to her car in the hotel parking garage, Sarah reflected on how much her life had changed since that morning jog. She was still the same person who loved teaching children and helping them discover their potential. But now she was also someone else, a guardian who operated in the shadows, protecting people who would never know her name. When her fellow teachers complained about feeling unappreciated or wondered if they were making a real difference in the world, Sarah just smiled and thought about the secret life that gave her work even deeper meaning. By day, she shaped the minds that would build the future. By night, she protected the people who were working to make that future possible. As she drove home through the quiet streets of San Diego, Sarah Martinez, elementary school teacher and Naval Intelligence Operative, felt a deep satisfaction with the path her life had taken. The men who had attacked her that morning in Balboa Park had intended to make her a victim. Instead, they had accidentally helped reveal a protector who would spend her life ensuring that other innocent people never had to face such threats alone. In the world of special operations, respect was earned through actions under pressure. Sarah had earned hers the moment she refused to be a victim and chose instead to be someone who protected others from becoming victims. The Navy SEALs called her ma'am because she had proven herself worthy of the title through courage, skill, and the kind of split-second decision-making that separated true warriors from everyone else. That night, as she fell asleep in her modest apartment, Sarah Martinez smiled, knowing that tomorrow would bring new children to teach, new minds to nurture, and new possibilities to explore. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she remained ready for whatever mission might come next, whatever innocent life might need her protection, whatever threat might underestimate the power of someone who refused to be anything other than strong.